we will be moving on to the last reaction of today, which is Kong Skull Island Apeocalypse Now by PointlessHub, of course. I've seen a couple of his videos. During the last video, the 2001 Planet of the Apes, this recommended video really intrigued me. So I decided, let's give it a shot because it sounds interesting. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Movie monsters. As long as there have been movies, there have been monsters. Usually those monsters just stalked around at night, or in castles. It's alive! But then one day there was a crazy idea. What if that monster was really big and attacked a city? And that is how we got the Pet. 1921. Yeah, the first kaiju technically was this little cartoon rabbit guy. A couple adopts him, and he just keeps growing and growing. Eventually, he just starts eating the buildings. Oh god. He starts eating the entire city. Takes the military to bring him down.
Huh.
And, I guess
that is very fucking interesting animation. Somebody was like very ahead of the time.
the day is saved. Looks like everyone died. It's like Zack Snyder made a dark version of Clifford the Big Red Dog. Yeah, then a decade later they made that movie with the giant monkey. King Kong, a staple of American culture. This big ape is an icon of Hollywood. In the 1930s, it was the most exciting thing to watch this monkey go to the top of the Empire State Building before getting shot to death by a bunch of planes. Like an idiot. Shoot back, you dumb monkey. Like Godzilla, King Kong starred in his first film as a big old jerk. He really gets mellowed out in every future iteration. Both him and Godzilla had a quick sequel that capitalized on the first, and then both disappeared for a while before fighting each other in their third film. What the fuck? That's right, King Kong vs. Godzilla is the third film for both King Kong and Godzilla. And I think it's just really
That's very interesting. That's very cute. I wasn't familiar with the Pet. I would be surprised if anybody was familiar with an animation from 1930s, you know. But it is supposedly a beginning of a very famous genre of film. So maybe I'm the ignorant one, you know.
That both were tied so early on in their history. The Jimmy Timmy Power Hour of the post-war Pacific, a film that stood the test of time. Not really in quality, but more what it represents. The fact that having two really cool characters fight is awesome, and everyone likes it. Too bad it never happened again. Kong Skull Island. I really like Skull Island.
Yes, please!
It's got some great action moments, creative directing decisions, and some of my favorite creature designs from a modern film. It's also kind of a mess, like a boat made out of two crashed World War II fighter planes. It'll do the job it needs to do, but a few parts might fall off on occasion.
We're not playing this, you fucking weeb!
Oh yeah, it goes without saying I haven't fucking seen Skull Island. I'm not that interested in the Kong expanded universe, I guess. I remember watching King Kong vs. Godzilla because it was just randomly on one Saturday when I was a kid and turned on the TV. I don't remember which channel aired, but it was both fun and stupid. That is so wholesome. I have not seen. I have seen one of the Godzilla movies, but I haven't seen any King Kong movies. And like I said, one Godzilla movie, the very recent kind of a reboot or comeback or whatever.
If the experience itself was memorable, and the plot gets there in one piece, then what's the harm? In a way, I would say this movie is peak Monsterverse. By the end of it, you understand what the Monsterverse was about. Monsters, action, and cheese. Lots of cheese. Big ol' brick of Velveeta cheese. It's the 1970s and we're getting out of Nam.
There'll never be a more screwed up time in Washington.
Not one to waste a national crisis, John Goodman, the head of a little spunky Fed agency called Monarch, has a wacky idea. Before the US pulls out, why not take a military expedition to this unknown island that's shaped like a skull? You know, before the Soviets do.
That almost makes sense.
And so he gets approval.
That almost made sense. That's a great line.
He puts a team together. A chopper brigade led by Samuel L. Jackson, tracker Tom Hiddleston, and war photographer Brie Larson. I'm gonna be using their real names. Does anybody care about their character names? Does anyone care about James Conrad or Lieutenant Colonel Preston Packard? He's Samuel L. Jackson. I don't care.
Yeah.
So John Goodman gets this whole expedition going under the idea that it's a geological survey. Go in, drop some bombs, get out.
Is that a monkey?
Yeah, that doesn't go well. Or maybe it did go well, because the real purpose of the mission was so Goodman could show the government that monsters are actually real. He saw Godzilla attack a ship when he was younger, and like nobody believed him.
Ancient species owned this earth long before mankind, and if we keep our heads buried in the sand, they will take it back.
Random military guys get picked off one by one, and Jackson vows revenge against Kong for playing Donkey Konga with his men. Tom Hiddleston and friends get brought.
Man, PointlessHub is fucking on point with those double whammy jokes. Holy shit. Skull Island has the best sacrifice scene that ever came out of Hollywood. The grenade scene gave me one of the most unexpected laughs I have ever had. Oh yeah, you did mention that. You did mention that when we were watching, I think, fucking Independence Day from PointlessHub. My first exposure to Godzilla was seeing an ad for the mid-2000 animated series, so not exactly the best start. In fairness, the cartoon was neat despite being a sequel to Godzilla 98. I am fucking not familiar with that whole branch of the Monsterverse. I am not familiar with the Monsterverse to begin with. I hope he has that fucking grenade scene in here so I can see it. I will just look it up if he doesn't.
To the village of Skull Island natives, where they meet John C. Reilly.
Whoa. Everybody keep your wigs on now.
John C. Reilly's been living with them for the last 20 years, being a World War II pilot who was shot down during the war. They all make a plan to reach the coast because otherwise they'll all be stranded on the island too. This group learns about the real lore of the island, while Jackson and his men are bodied by whatever nonsense this place throws at them.
This place is hell.
There's a lot of bugs. And that's kind of the movie. Jackson wants revenge on Kong, and the main group tries to convince him not to do it, or else the real monsters will be set loose and kill everyone. Kong spends most of the movie just fighting assorted wildlife, and by the end, they make it back to civilization. Just with, you know, a lot less people. I love this film, but I have to admit, those first 30 minutes are rough.
There'll never be a more screwed up time in Washington.
And it's not because it lacks action, or my attention span being ruined by the internet. I don't have a problem with it setting up for the rest of the film. Of course you need to introduce characters, and show why they're going on the expedition. I'm fine with that. I just wish they would have done it without playing a different Vietnam-era song every 5 minutes. Not exaggerating. They play a licensed song about 5 times within the first 30 minutes.
Man, that's a fucking trope I wish Hollywood started like moving away from, especially since like all of those, like both Sonic and Mario have like some fucking egregious examples of just a random fucking licensed song coming straight out of the producer's asshole. Why the fuck are there so many licensed songs in Hollywood movies now? Like, they don't serve any purpose, man. Why are you blowing the budget on that? Holy fuck, that makes me so angry. But how will we know it's this 1970s, man? It's like the Mexico filter, it has to be there, said some exec. Fucking goddamn right, man. It's like they don't consider a movie to be a true Hollywood production until it has like licensed music out of the ass, because like successful movies like Baby Driver did it. But there's a fucking... You can have licensed music with a purpose, and then there is having licensed music for the sake of having licensed music, man. And one of those is bad. Can you guess which one? Can you help Dora point out which one of those is bad?
We get it. It's the 70s. I've played Black Ops. I've seen Forrest Gump. Watching Forrest Gump was my personal Vietnam. It's like 2016 Suicide Squad, slapping on songs to make up for a personality. This latest rewatch, I was actually a little worried. I thought, uh-oh, was this worse than I remember? Thankfully, those worries disappeared when that tree went through the windshield.
See, like, as soon as the licensed music stops and they start doing the thing that do you want the movie to do, it's suddenly fucking good. What the fuck? Just skip the licensed music, like, save some money, you know? Give them to the poor fucking underpaid CGI people, you know?
The moment Kong appears on screen, it's like the quality skyrockets, and it keeps climbing for the rest of the film. In the behind the scenes, they said that Kong was always getting killed by airplanes, so why not give him the upper hand for once? And honestly, that is just really hilarious. I like that. Imagine surviving Vietnam just to get ate by a giant gorilla. I just like how this movie looks. I'm a sucker for warm hues and the color orange. Look at my office.
Same.
It's sickening. Every scene tries something different. Each moment has a different tone. Just because this is set in a jungle, the colors don't need to remain consistent. They really play around with every aspect of a tropical environment. So we shift between cloudy grays to humid yellows to dry, barren tans. A lot of times, logic goes out the window, simply to have a shot that looks kinda neat. Though, there are a few visual hiccups from time to time, like some shots really needed a bit more time in the oven. It really is like the movie gains a personality as time goes on. There's a sense of humor even in serious moments, and I like the directing from Jordan Vogt-Roberts, a guy who has done this movie and nothing else. Okay, practically nothing else, but you know what I mean. Vogt-Roberts' creative decisions went a long way in making this film work. Choosing to film in real-world locations instead of simply resorting to a green screen went a long way.
Who would have thought, man? Who would have thought? Wow, who would have thought the movie gets better when it becomes what it advertised? It's as if execs don't make the best decisions. Who would have thunk? Death by Kong, Vor is really a fate of all time. Filming on location? That madman. It's all about the fucking CGI now, man. Haven't you seen the success of the prequel to The Thing? Kids love the CGI.
Shot in Hawaii, Australia, and Vietnam, all to combine these environments into one cohesive jungle world. Yet that
That's fucking cool, man. That is a cool idea to have like videos from multiple locations to represent this island. Holy shit.
Vietnam aspect is definitely the most prevalent. This is a Nam film through and through, with the main inspiration for writer Max Borenstein not being another monster film, but Apeocalypse Now. Welcome to the rice fields, John Goodman. Dan Gilroy and Derek Connolly helped flesh out the script as well, but Borenstein and
I kinda don't see it, but except filming on location stuff, Apeocalypse Now is very infamous for its filming process. Holy fuck. But like, okay, I kinda get it where the Apeocalypse Now subtitle comes from. I think I will watch this movie and see, because I'm a big fan of Apeocalypse Now. It's such a different kind of movie. Holy shit. Like, you don't see that in cinema. You didn't see shit like that in cinema before it came out, and you didn't see shit like that after it came out. That is an insane production made by insane people in insane circumstances.
Vogt-Roberts' vision was what really made Skull Island stick out. This could have been just another iteration of the classic King Kong story, and it's not like there's anything bad about that. I love Jackson's Kong, but setting it in Southeast Asia gave this movie such a unique characteristic that I can't really imagine Skull Island without. Kind of wild Vogt-Roberts hasn't done anything major since. Apparently he's working on a Gundam adaptation.
I'll kill you.
And Metal Gear Solid, with blessings from Kojima, but both...
Hold on, my penis can only get so erect in one video, man. Don't, like, overpromise shit to me. You can definitely tell while watching the movie. Then that will be an interesting experience.
Projects haven't gotten an update in years, so who knows where they went.
Yeah.
All we got was this hunk of junk boat named Gray Fox.
Make me feel alive again.
Speaking of Metal Gear, Rule of Cool dominates this film, even when logic says otherwise. The action here is the smallest scale compared to every other Monsterverse movie. Like, there's no cities getting obliterated or fleets getting destroyed, but the violence is a lot more personal. Straight up monsters eating guys. Skull Island's always...
I mean, that's kinda like Peter Jackson's Kong, right? I think that was also more like... I think that was also like more personalized. As long as there are no jet engines involved. Weekly Kojima mentioned. Kojima everywhere system, man. Kojima is everywhere and he protrudes everywhere into the digital culture. And dare I say, he fucking earned that with his works, man. Not only Metal Gear Solid, but the way less spoken about Policenauts, for example. When you think about it, Monsterverse is literally just Metal Gear with giant monsters.
been pretty brutal to what
that one was in regards to my Peter Jackson's thing. Yeah, that's what kind of made that movie special, it seemed. So yeah, glad other movies like decided to follow suit because it's cool. Like, that's a concept that has been in cinema like since forever. Fucking first Predator is just like humans getting owned by the fucking predator in the jungle, you know. Calling back to the fucking thing we just saw by Mandalore. And it's like, it's kind of very personal and the stakes aren't that high. If the Predator like kills all of the commandos in Predator, he will just have some shiny skulls and he will fuck off. And when he like explodes, it's like he just fucking destroyed a huge part of the jungle, but it's not like there are humans there, you know. It was like a cool personal movie, you know. You fucking felt for the humans in that one. And then Predator 2 comes out and you're like, the stakes are so much higher because he's in the city, but the setting is so much less cool, man. I kinda don't care. So yeah, like horror / monster films with like way personal stakes kinda work. My favorite read of Predator 1 is that it's a slasher movie where Arnold is the virgin final girl. You know what? That somehow makes sense. That sounds so blurred, but I can't argue. Oh yeah, definitely. It's Kojima's world and we're just living in it. Yep.
Whatever nameless NPCs wind up on it. Even in the original King Kong, like this guy gets devoured by a Brontosaurus. Who gets devoured by a Brontosaurus? Sure, the other films have entire cities wiped off the map and nobody bats an eye.
But that's like... There is space for both in cinemas, you know. Both like cool city destruction and like more personal stories, you know. Pacific Rim had like some cool destruction moments, like 2012 had some cool destruction moments. Certain Godzilla movies had some cool destruction moments, but sometimes it's also okay to focus on the more personal stories.
But you'll always remember that one guy that got impaled by the spider leg. That's a perspective most people can imagine. This is a messed up jungle hell world full of giant bugs and a cow, and everything will kill you, except for the cow. Or will it? Sometimes a film will have creative decisions so smart you won't even think about it. They just seem like common sense, like good CGI. Half the time you don't even notice. King Kong has existed as a character for, what, 91 years? But this version of him has only existed for 7, which to me feels crazy, because it feels like he's been around for so much longer. When I look at this, I think, yeah, that's Kong. How often can you say that with a redesign? People often joke that his first appearance in color was kind of rough. He didn't look his best. And yeah, so what? So what if his eyes blinked at different times? They were setting new ground. They were trailblazing. And decades on, it'd be an inspiration for Legendary 2, because the culmination of the Monsterverse was to get these two fighting. There was one thing I forgot to mention though. Oh yeah, he's fucking huge. King Kong's whole gimmick is that he's a big ape, but that meant like the size of a dinosaur. He could punch a T-Rex. This King Kong is 10 stories tall. This is the biggest he's ever been up to this point. And what's crazier is he still isn't big enough to fight Godzilla. He's got some growing to do. We all get it. Kong is gonna fight Godzilla eventually. But the thing is, that kind of creates a short-term problem for this movie specifically. Because if Kong is so big, what problem?
Man. Oh man, that's a good poster. Oh holy fuck, that's a good poster. Oh my god, that's such a good movie poster, brother. That is insane. Holy shit, in like today's cinema, with the fucking blue and red Star Wars TM branded shitty posters, light versus evil, that is fucking different, man. Holy. Pacific Rim stood out because they were trying to save the city. True. The less said about Pacific Rim sequels, the better. Yeah. City destroyed with million dead. Meh. Bob graphically consumed by a giant monster. Bob, no. I mean, it's kinda true, because like as a human being, it's easier for you to imagine like a personal tragedy of a one person dying, one character that you're kind of attached to. And like when a city is destroyed, you're like, oh, cool city destruction scene. You're not sitting there thinking, billions dead. Oh my god, the humankind is on the brink of extinction. You're just going, oh, that's cool that it was cool when he pile drived the Liberty statue into the fucking White House or whatever. I hope the president is dead. You know, you're not really like very concerned for those people. It would make a great album cover too. Yeah, images that go incredibly hard, bro.
For this movie specifically, because if Kong is so big, what the hell is he even gonna fight? Every iteration of Skull Island is that lost world mythos, a land out of time, which usually just meant there are a lot of dinosaurs. Look at all the dinos. And the local inhabitants were tribal. Kong was just some big ape. Where'd he come from? I don't know. I'm not Trey the Explainer. But, yeah, it's not like that in this movie. In Kong Skull Island got dumped with some radioactive goo. Instead of Skull Island being some prehistoric island, it's now Monster Island. Not that Monster Island, like an island full of monsters. You know what I mean. Giant bugs, bat bird things.
That's kind of different for a typical, like, Kong movie. My favorite anecdote about Pacific Rim is that the movie started as an adaptation for a miniature game called Monster Apocalypse. The licensing fell through and we got this masterpiece in exchange. That's kind of interesting. Also, it's fucking insane to make a tie-in adaptation movie before the game was released, I guess? Oh no, okay, now I understand it, sorry, that's my bad in interpretation. So it's kinda like StarCraft, where StarCraft was supposed to be a 40k RTS and then a deal fell through and they just made bootleg 40k. That's always so funny. And like seeing the seeing the success of the thing after, you have to like imagine the people who fumbled the license. People who fumbled the license were like spitting in their fucking beards for not getting that licensing deal.
The Kraken, giant ants.
Big ones. There's one. Sounds like a bird, but it's a fucking ant.
Kong used to fight T-Rexes, but he's so big now, he would just step on them. These aren't animals from a time forgotten. They're straight up mutated monsters. In the Monsterverse, Skull Island isn't just a lost island. It's kind of an entrance to the, Hollow Earth. Yeah, we were gonna get to this at some point. Yeah, in the Monsterverse, the Earth is hollow. The center of the Earth isn't magma. What are you, stupid? It's actually a subterranean realm like Journey to the Center of the Earth. A whole ecosystem underneath the crust, where thanks to all that juicy core radiation, everything is unfathomably big and horrifying. See that frog? That stupid frog? That frog is like 50 feet tall. Yeah, the scale gets insane as these movies go on. The monkey that looks like Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle is bigger than Kong was in this movie.
What?
But here's the thing that confuses me. That monkey looks like a baby, and Kong here looks like a grown-ass man. What's going on? Why doesn't Kong look like a baby? I can buy that Kong's parents were smaller because they lived on Skull Island and not underground, like they had a form of island dwarfism or something. I can even buy Kong growing bigger than his parents since he had the whole island to himself, perhaps even getting to the size of a regular underground ape. I get it, he's got some growing to do, and in those 4 decades, Kong grows hundreds of feet. But where I draw the line is when the dumb Dewey monkey looks like a kid, but Kong barely changes. I think he grows a beard. Imagine if there was just a proportional, fully grown man the size of a kid, and as he aged, he just became a bigger, fully grown man. Nothing about him changed at all in proportion or his facial features, he just got bigger.
That is kind of fucking stupid. It's very much like StarCraft. Monsterpocalypse is extremely fun to play, but it was never intended for mass appeal. In that way, Pacific Rim managed to bring mass appeal to kaiju beat down once again. Yeah. Man, Pacific Rim really is that bridge between like old kaiju movies and the new ones, huh? I swear there's a kind of monkey that looks old even when they're little. To be fair, true, yeah, like there are some animals that just look ancient the moment they are fucking born.
Like those dino toys you put in the bathtub. That'd be kind of horrifying, wouldn't it? But that's what happens with Kong in this series. There's this whole video which spends 10 minutes theorizing why Dewey is bigger. But you know what? The answer is actually really simple. It's that when they made Skull Island, they didn't think Adam Wingard would make a movie about a society of apes the size of Godzilla being led by the Monkey King in the center of the earth. Don't rationalize this. You can't rationalize this. I think I blacked out. So yeah, they hint at Hollow Earth. Explains why this island is so gosh darn cuckoo. I love the creature design. These giant spiders that impale
they look fucking awesome, man.
people by walking, but they're also like crabs because they got those claws. That's really cool. Freaky flying lizards that don't seem like they'd be that big of a deal, and then they just tear people apart. Like, oh my god, there's a big cow.
Christ.
He's the most demented of all. And who could forget about the creature that stole the show? The one that everybody remembers. That's right, the stick bug. I love the stick bug. Or log bug, because he looks like a log instead of a stick. You see where they're going with that? This is the best creature of all. Please stop shooting him. Thank you. Kong couldn't fight T-Rexes now because he's too big. And there really aren't dinosaurs on Skull Island. Well, there were, rest in peace. So they had to invent something bigger, something so unsympathetic and monstrous, you wouldn't care when Kong inevitably clobbered it to death. As it's written in the Monarch creature profile, if Kong was the god of Skull Island, then here comes the devil. Skullcrawlers are malicious little jerks. They just kill for the love of the game. I love their design. Creatures with just 2 feet and nothing else is so neat to me. It's freakishly alien. They're like demented Cubones. This is a big cast. A lot of characters.
All life eventually returns to
But
crowd.
out of all of them, the main character is John C. Reilly. Main human character, that is. This is actually his movie.
We also put a man on the moon.
No kidding. What do they do, just leave him up there?
The movie begins with his character's plane crash in World War II. Then he doesn't show back up until halfway through the film. By the time he reappears, you just think, oh yeah, there was a World War II pilot at the start. John C. Reilly is oddly enough the Atlas which this film is weighed upon. Like he's holding this whole film up. He's an exposition machine, explaining the lore between Kong and the Islanders. He names the Skullcrawlers.
Look, I just made that name up.
He's the comic relief. He even is the emotional core, because we learned that he actually befriended that Japanese pilot, and they survived together for years on the island. He even befriended the natives, but they don't talk too much. Then, man, when he finally returns home to see the son he never knew, and a wife that thought he was dead, and he finally gets that beer and baseball, kinda brings a tear to the eye. In a franchise full of monsters punching and cities getting obliterated, somehow John C. Reilly sitting on a couch is one of my favorite moments in the series. Samuel...
That is fucking cool, man. Yeah, like I said, the personal stories, man, they matter. They legitimately matter.
Jackson's a great antagonist. The best human antagonist in the whole series. Not like it's really a competition. I mean, who do we have? This guy? He wanted revenge. He tracks Kong for the entire film, planning to bring him down. There is no greater dynamic than a man that absolutely hates a gorilla. It's why Clayton from Tarzan is an underappreciated villain. So much artistry used to convey that this guy wants a monkey dead. Jackson isn't just a straight villain, though. Like, you get where he's coming from. He's a soldier in the aftermath of Vietnam. Things suck.
There'll never be a more screwed up time.
His ego is bruised, and he only signed up for this dumb expedition because he wanted one last victory. An expedition that just ends up getting his own men killed. All that emotion and regret over not just his decision to join, but kind of the war in general, is funneled towards this giant ape. Can't admit defeat, and it's his undoing. In the end, it's always the hippies that ruin everything.
And we didn't lose the war. We abandoned it.
These two are the best human characters in the movie. They absolutely carry it. The rest of the cast does not. Who do we have? Tom Hiddleston as a boring tracker guy. His character acts cool, I guess. His personality is like Chris Pratt in the Jurassic World movies.
He kinda looks
guess.
like... he kinda reminds me of the protagonist of Apocalypse Now, actually, but like without all the PTSD and fucking demented demons crawling under the skin written on his face. So just the base looks, because this, yeah, doesn't convey as much of a story with just one look, you know. Jackson also does make a good villain. Oh fuck yeah, he doesn't get to play a villain like that often. I still think, like, first of all, fuck Quentin Tarantino for saying Jackie Brown is a bad movie of his. He's fucking off his gourd on that opinion. Second of all, Samuel L. Jackson as a villain in Jackie Brown was so fucking good, man. And he was so compelling. Like, he played this kind of a slimeball, smooth talker guy who organizes like the crimes, but then he stabs you in the back, and he was so good at it, man. I fucking loved him in Jackie Brown. Or I love him in like most of the movies he appears in, but that one is special.
Personalities like Chris Pratt in the Jurassic World movies. That is not a positive.
Who or what am I tracking?
They give him this whole backstory of being an ex-SAS captain who didn't agree with the war in the first place, but he did his job. Yet that barely plays into the story. He just gets relegated to babysitting nerds in the jungle and listening to John C. Reilly rant.
Now you're saying we're at war with them?
It's more of a Cold War.
Cold War, like
Like they take the summers off?
He's usually just saying common sense stuff, like don't shoot the giant cow.
Put it down.
He just kinda gets pushed to the background. Another voice of reason telling Jackson not to kill Kong. You could replace him with anyone, really. And that sort of applies to Brie Larson, too. Brie Larson is a war photographer who hates war.
You don't strike me as a war photographer.
Anti-war photographer.
Oh, so you criticize war, yet you partake in it. Curious, curious.
Wow. So groundbreaking. Give me a character who absolutely loves documenting war crimes. Make him psychotic. That's a trendsetter right there. Backstory-wise, she
Wasn't that kind of like the villain in the Evil Within 2, where he fucking... It's not like directly stated that he was a war photographer, but he kinda like he was kind of too good at it. He liked that job like too much, and then he is given like fucking JoJo powers of photography. Man, the Evil Within 2 is a kick-ass fucking video game. I do think it's okay for your supporting cast to have less to do than the main guys. Yeah, I agree. Like, there will always be like the main focus guys, and then the guys who get like the B side of the script, basically, to just add some scenes to make the runtime longer, you know?
Be farther from Tom Hiddleston's
It
character,
just
but in
happens.
execution, they're pretty much the same, except she's occasionally more sarcastic. As overly negative as I'm surprisingly being, these two aren't bad main characters or anything. Like, they're very clearly audience surrogates. Attractive people who aren't annoying nerds, jungle recluses, or actively trying to kill the title character. This movie has a big cast, and that can kind of be its detriment. There's a few scenes that just follow this one guy who's suffering, and you feel sorry for him. Wonder how his story ends. Oh, okay. I get that he was the guy that Jackson told his men they were going to try to find, but his death doesn't change Jackson's mind at all. The only thing his plot did was give perspective on what Kong was doing. Funnily enough, this guy, his actor, was used for reference for some of Kong's facial movements. He has a history of playing certain apes, like Koba the silly monkey. His plot was just one of those things that you feel like could have been executed better. There's a bit of that in this movie. Like, apparently this was partially funded by Tencent, so we had to have an obligatory Chinese character, and they just never gave her something to do. I think she has like 5 lines the entire movie, and you forget she exists. I guess it is kind of alright that they have a big cast, because a lot of people die. Like, oh my god. John Goodman was our first main perspective, and he gets ate by a Skullcrawler. This annoying desk nerd simply wanted to go back home, and he gets brutally tore apart by birds. But out of all of the deaths, one tops all the rest.
Oh, that is going to be the grenade one. Okay, let me get ready here. I forgot she was in the movie directly proving his point.
But out of all of the deaths, one tops all the rest.
Oh man. Oh, that was good. That was fucking good.
Art.
Home run!
No shot. And it's like such a cliche that you expect that, oh, he's gonna eat him, and the dinosaur is just like, fuck you trying to do? Get the fuck out of here.
Most pointless sacrifice in film history. Imagine if Gandalf slipped off that bridge and did nothing to stop the Balrog.
Whoops.
Damn, rest in peace, I guess. Well, Godzilla 2014 was a good introduction to it.
Remember when Gandalf pretended to die only to like steal the fucking all of the exp from that Balrog to like level up so the rest of the party doesn't get it? Bro was like fucking trolling his party.
American Godzilla. Kong Skull Island showed what the Monsterverse was really going to be. pretty good. Like, no, really, that's all it took. After a decade of cinematic universes, how many didn't implode after the second film? The DCEU's second outing was Batman v Superman.
Lamau.
The Dark Universe didn't even have one. When it came to cinematic universes, having a good second movie was rare, especially one so tonally different from the first. And even better, it took this classic movie character and expanded his mythos to make him work within this new shared universe, laying the groundwork for the Hollow Earth, the Iwi, Kong's size, and the fact these two will inevitably clash. This feels like a world where Godzilla and Kong could coexist. But it also did the most important thing. It made Kong likable. Kong is immediately someone you want to root for, even after his introduction was killing a bunch of soldiers. I am a Kong fanboy all the way. I think maybe that's why I'm fine with—
That is one fucking creepy, I'm assuming, ape costume. That's a good interpretation. Mages really have no shame. It's no wonder they're always so broken. Yeah, because they're fucking stealing XP where they can, man. And like, mages are always like, oh, we're gonna keep this knowledge away from you, you fucking hobbit freak. Fuck off. I'm gonna lock myself in the tower and ponder the orb. Mages are universally assholes.
The direction the Monsterverse has taken compared to other fans. Should I say Godzilla fans? Because I love Godzilla. I'm a Godzilla fan too. But let's be real. As of the most recent movie, Godzilla kind of isn't the main character of the Monsterverse. Kong is. In the Wingard movies, Godzilla is an ass. He just shows up in a blind rage like an angry crocodile. The only thing that curbs his rage is attacking the main antagonist. Kong, meanwhile, has been made to be very sympathetic. He's usually just defending himself. Godzilla's just along for the ride. Sometimes he just randomly falls into the plot. But that isn't to say Godzilla was completely left in the dust. End credit scenes today have really lost their appeal. But I remember a younger time, a more innocent time, when I was hyped by some of these end credit scenes. But nothing compares to the end credit scene of Skull Island. Because like I said in the Godzilla video, I loved Destroy All Monsters. Every Toho monster was a core part of my childhood. So you can imagine how I felt when I saw that.
Yo! All of the fucking warriors.
I didn't know
Godzilla
was in this picture.
King Kong, pass the great poop pound, King Kong.
Me playing the second D&D arcade game and holding onto Meteor Swarm so I can always get the credit for killing the final boss. Now you're thinking like a fucking mage, man.
Fighting the Viet Cong, King Kong. Everybody bang a gun for King Kong. Because you don't belong.
Oh, well, that was fucking interesting. Why is it recommending me two movies that I already seen? What the fuck? Or maybe he manually set this one to always show these two, I guess. I don't know. But if it's like YouTube-based recommendations, then those are some fucking bad recommendations, brother. Because I already seen them. And yeah, that's it for today, boys. Kong Skull Island, Apeocalypse Now by PointlessHub. Really fun movie channel. Really entertaining stuff, I gotta give it to him. And yeah, that's everything for me today for both the stream and the video if you're watching later. So yeah, thank you for joining me.